Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production. We promised some spicy PQ deck techs, and here's one that we're not seeing as often on the top 8 leaderboard, let alone winning, or on the, I guess, like the top echelon of decks here. But we're joined by Andrew here. I know we don't have the little name tags, but Andrew is the one decked out in Oilers gear on the bottom. In case you in case you didn't
He's
notice,
the one who's not Rob. We'll put it that
he's
way.
the not Rob.
True.
Yeah, I am joined by, of course, we're all my co-creator, co-commentator, co-caster, co-patriot. And Andrew coming out of here, coming out of Edmonton. In case for all non-Canadians viewers, the Oilers are in Edmonton, not the Flames. That's the other guys. These are the Oilers. That's a Gretzky. That's like a big Wayne down there. So, Andrew, happy to have you on the show here.
Thanks,
Congratulations.
man.
First of all,
Thank
I mean,
you.
I know the gold foil you opened, but we'll save that for later.
I don't,
Uh,
so I'm very excited to know what it is.
he's very excited to know what it is. So we're here to talk about this Viserai tech, and so I kind of want to start it off. I think I know the answer to this, but Andrew, tell me why you're piloting Viserai for these PQs here.
Well, to be honest with you, it's mostly just a comfort pick. Um,
Yeah,
Viserai is something
we're
that I've
hearing
put
that a
the
lot
most.
from
Yeah,
people we get.
100%. I've
Yeah.
noticed that from your last couple of videos for sure. It's funny too because in the week leading up to the PQ, I was kind of looking around deciding between maybe like Viserai or Briar, and I noticed you guys in a recent video put it in like tier C. And it almost changed my mind. I was like, oh no.
I forget whose main idea that was, but I think like we all kind of agreed unanimously. I think Yuki was
Look,
on the channel too. We're like,
the
yeah, it's just
issue,
not doing too well these days.
I've
the
heard
issue,
someone, I
yeah.
could be wrong. I've heard someone also say that like Michael Hamilton is not hot on Viserai right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, I'm
Okay,
like, oh no.
I will add that I played Briar in my recent PQ and I got destroyed by a Viserai, so there's something there.
I think he's still got it.
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
still he's clearly still strong. I mean, let's talk a little bit about Viserai here. Let's talk about we're gonna this format for anyone's watching. It's gonna be the same kind of format. We're gonna talk about mainly it's gonna be Andrew's deck here, a little bit about the matchups and what he faced at the PQ. It was a 40-man PQ, I believe. So it was 6 rounds of Swiss. So you got some stuff to go into here. So let's just start off with the equipment here. You got the core equipment up top first: the Rosetta, the Iron Weave, the Providence, the Grasp, and the Creepers. Anything you want to mention with this equipment suite? Anything that specific that kind of stands out to you?
I think that's pretty much just like the stock equipment suite that a lot of Viserais are playing right now. It was
Hmm.
important to me to have the Aether Iron Weave in any of the quick games that are going to be around or under 6 turns long. And especially, I think it really benefits my play style of trying to just come out of the gate and snowball and get tempo and threaten like some big damage attacks and then some good on hit effects. And Aether
Mm.
Ironweave lets you just have like a CNC or a race face or something
Hmm.
else, like a big boots play come out of nowhere when they're trying not to block maybe and you're getting all this value. And then at the end you come in with a CNC and now they have to give it like 2 cards.
Hmm.
That's fair.
There were
Okay.
some equipments in the sideboard too.
Yeah,
Maybe
let's
we
talk a
can
little
we
bit about
can
the
briefly talk
sideboard.
about these as well. So I see Tunic, Boots, and Quillhand.
Yeah.
Crown of Dichotomy up there, sneaking
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, that's
sneaking a picture of that. No,
he's just there.
no,
To be
you gotta
honest,
get
in all my
Arcane.
Viserai games, oh yeah, I guess it's the Arcane Barrier. Yeah, I was like, I never played this guy.
Nah.
Arcane
Oh, I
Barrier makes
bet.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Arcane Barrier 3, it looks like over here. So I guess
Yes.
roll into that. Is that the reason? What are you scared of here?
It is. Locally in Alberta, we have a lot of Kano and Icelander players.
Mm.
I
And
do know this. I have met them.
yes,
Yes.
100%. And I'm happy I brought it because I did play 2 Kanos on the day, and AB3 just feels really sweet into them being able to just pitch a blue and
Yeah.
shut down something, especially when it has a cool on hit for how much damage it does. I think it's important to make them opt less or search for something less good. I
Yeah.
mean, it's normally just Tome of Aetherwind anyways, but
Right.
it still feels sweet to just pitch a blue and have every resource accomplish something.
That's true.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Because
Yeah.
besides
Okay.
creepers, I guess these are the only things you could pitch on your opponent's turn, right?
Yes. And just a little bit more about the equipment. The Tunic, like I said, is there for the really long games, the control games, as well
Right.
as ice decks, as well as the wizards. And then Vexing Quillhand maybe sometimes comes in when I'm playing second against maybe some of the rune blades.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that mainly like to get the discount or just like 2 free damage, or is it like kind of a combination with like a
Get
big
the
play?
tempo, maybe.
It's kind of both. I'm really into having the grasp when I play first to fix my hand, make a rune chant.
Yeah.
Um,
Resource
and
sync kind of thing.
Yeah, and when I play second, I think it's important to like maybe a Briar or a Viserai is threatening lethal first with like one arcane or something, and sometimes that's very important, especially when you're both at like one life in those end game situations, playing like the 2 card hands back and forth. You got to have
Hmm.
a way to stop it rather than just dying to the gloves.
Hmm.
Yeah, makes
That
sense.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of the equipment suite. Not a whole lot. It's not like an Ultim where you got like
Hmm.
12,000 cards in your equipment slot. So it's pretty nice. It's pretty lean equipment suite here.
Hmm.
Um, rolling on to the core deck here, I see some interesting stuff. I see some one ofs, which I don't see as commonly. I
Hmm.
see kind of some staples. So we see the Mauvrian Skies to the
Yep.
is there a mat of that card? I don't remember if there's a
No,
Mauvrian Skies
there
mat.
is
Oh man,
not.
really
There's the
there really should
monastery,
be.
but it's not really the same thing.
I feel like Mop Skies would be a great. Okay, sorry, I get a
It
bit of
would
a
be.
It's
tangent
so
here.
pretty.
So
Yeah, it could
yeah,
be.
let's talk a little bit about this. So this is your core deck on the left here. So what we're
Yeah,
Yes.
seeing
so
is like the
left
main
core
side.
deck, right is the sideboard for anyone watching. Yeah.
So how many decks are you running in the core? How many cards are you running in the core deck into every matchup here?
You know, I'm stuck in the old Magic the Gathering ways. I was big into Magic before coming over to this, so for most of the decks I play in Fab, it's kind of easier for my brain to start with 60 cards
Yep,
and
and
then
then
Mm,
you go. Yep, nope, I
pack.
understand. I
yep.
get it.
Yeah, yeah. So that is 60 cards on the left there.
Okay.
And something like I was saying, the Read the Runes, it only stays in if I play first. So I can maybe draw it and play it on turn one,
So
or I
yeah,
can go get it with a Become the Arknight.
gotcha.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes
Hmm.
sense. So out of these 60 cards, I guess what are the cards that you're just never taking out, like the core of the other than the Moth Skies? Let's ignore the Moth Skies for a second because we all know the Moth Skies,
Yeah.
Shrill Skull Storm, they're not going anywhere. But let's maybe talk about some of the other cards here. Like you have two let's just go a couple of these cards they're sitting in the
Hmm.
core, quote unquote. But
Hmm.
talk a little bit about that. These two Rune Flashes. I'm a little bit curious. What's the two Rune Flashes for?
You know, so I should say that I have put so much time into Viserai, especially last year with going to France and whatnot.
Yeah.
And at this point, it is just a pile of cards that I just like or don't like in my heart.
It's intuition now. Yeah.
This list is things are just there because like I like them over time. And certain things like the Rune Flash, or the one of Amplify the Arknight, like sometimes they're really
Yeah.
good and sometimes they're
Yeah.
really bad. it's
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's
it
why you don't have a full playset of each, right? You kind of sprinkling them
yeah.
here and there.
For sure. And I like that. Again, it's kind of like from Magic. Sometimes I played a lot of one ofs, especially when you have like tutor effects that can go get
Right.
it, or like a Rattle Bones. Sometimes you can get an Amplify the Arknight
Mm,
because it's just 2 more damage than Swarming Gloomveil, which is normally the target for a Rattle Bones.
right.
Mhm.
The Rune Flashes, sometimes I'm very impressed with them, and other times I'm not. Um,
Hmm.
Kind of my playstyle, I'm looking to swing the sword at the end of every turn ever. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't really have rune chance left over very often, or
Mm,
like on the Revel, the rune blood turn,
yeah.
your rune chance are gone there too. So sometimes rune flash is just too expensive. I'm like, I'm never casting this card. But other times, especially into ice decks, sometimes I end up stacking quite a few rune chance, and then rune flash just is super discounted and free, and kind of helps you play around frostbite tokens.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And there's some cool things you can do with it too on like a Revel turn where it's just free and extends your turn. And
Right.
I'm I'm really trying to force like a chain play style with this deck where I just start snowballing and going wide, and I just keep doing like attack after attack and then threatening on hits at the end, like a Consuming Volition or
Hmm.
Command and Conquer or Erase Face if those are in.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
these consumings and meet and greets, are they staples of the deck that go into every matchup?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, they do get a little bit rough against some of the full control decks that are playing a ton of
Right.
D reacts. It seems they can just block them so efficiently.
Mm,
So sometimes Consuming Volition can come out,
yeah, because
depending on how I'm feeling.
yeah, I've seen this card kind of come in and out of a lot of Viserai decks. It's one that
Hmm.
like has been really good early on. Everyone ran it. Now I don't really see it as much, so that makes sense. If your opponent can block it out easily with a single D react, it's not really worth running.
I swear by that card against everything aggro or
Yeah,
mid range or Bolton.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if someone's trying to race me, that just demands cards at the end of a
And it's a
sequence. Or,
4, so they have to commit 2 cards or a single card plus armor. It's really
hmm
annoying to get around if you're not wanting to block at all. It's like, all right, here's two
yeah,
cards, I guess. I can't give you one, then take one, then discard a card anyway.
100%, and
Yeah.
lots of Viserai's play patterns put them in a really awkward spot with that. Like if you start with like a red Mobs guys and Shrill, that's 7, and they're so
Yeah.
incentivized to block it, or you just get 3 rune chants for free.
Yeah.
And depending on how many cards I get on that first attack, I can then decide if I want to swing the Consuming Volition or just swing the sword and put the Consuming in my arsenal for next turn.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of must blocks in this deck, so this makes it extra powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I see 5 Spellblade Assaults, but I don't see any Deathly Duets. I know you know the
Oh
card
yeah.
exists.
The new
Mhm.
I'm
card.
curious. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are. I mean, I've heard from a bunch of players, Deathly Duets like literally the only card you would slot into Viserai.
In tempo, yeah, Viserai,
Right now. Did you test
Mhm.
that card at all, or did you just kind of stick with the?
Very minimally. I don't think I put enough time into it. But because I'm basically not playing any yellows, it just felt awkward. I really like my play patterns of like pitching a blue for my first big attack and maybe the first non-attack, and then that one resource that's left
Rosetta.
over just goes for the sword or the consuming or
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, so it wasn't really a lot of, I guess, upside or real point to that. I think it's just
Yeah.
like seen as like an extra, so it's like just another version of it, right? Just to create more
Yeah, I
chance.
think that might be a different deck, and I think we might see lists go that way more if Rosetta Thorn becomes living legended.
That's true.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
So
Which
why
I wonder if that'll happen
only
soon. Just because I'm not seeing many Briar
possibly?
wins. I don't know.
It's true.
Yeah.
Why only 6 Shrills? Where's your 9 Shrills?
Where are the yellows?
You got 9 mobs, 9 Shrills. What happens? What happened to the yellow Shrills?
6 just isn't as good of a breakpoint as 7. And
Okay,
I don't
yeah.
know. For one, I'm just not hot on yellow cards ever. I kind of just want all reds, all blues. I think Modern Skies was the
Yeah.
only yellow that like checked the box for me that was worth including in the deck.
That makes a lot of
But
sense. Yeah.
yeah, and then I don't know what other attack I would cut for it because everything else seems to kind of have a place.
Yeah.
Kind of Rune Flasher amplifies the first place I go when I want to be bringing in Erase Face.
Yeah.
And that slot could also be like Drawn to the Dark Dimension or something too.
Right.
Yeah. Do you like Drawn to the Dark Dimension? I have seen it in some Viserai decks.
I want to immediately put more time into testing it right now. In the past, I didn't like it, but now I think I am much better at using the boots or more creative with Viserai when hands are clunky.
Yeah.
So if I can like figure out sequencing of very clunky hands, drawing more cards with a card like that is always good. I think that card synergizes with the boots well. If you're big brain that day, if you had a good sleep before your event.
Yeah.
Enough water, enough food, enough coffee.
Yep.
I got you.
Yep.
Okay.
I noticed the lead the charges here. Usually they're a sideboard option. I'm wondering here if these come into every match, or is that something you can take out pretty often?
It's pretty much just almost always in the main deck. It's a blue, it's a non-attack action, and it works really well with what I'm trying to do with those sequencing I was talking
and the
about.
Rosetta at the end of your turn, right?
Yeah, and it's really good with Command and Conquer and Erase Face as well. Like, yeah, I've turned sometimes where you start with Command and Conquer and then Erase Face, depending on which one you think is going to be more impactful against them. Or, you start with a CNC and they think maybe not too much is coming next, and you go into like Swarming and Meet and Greet and just keep extending the turn after
the
that.
real damage.
Yeah, and that card, it plays around getting Erase Faced, which really hurts Viserai.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it plays around some other things too, like I think like Blizzard and Hypothermia and probably some other stuff I'm not thinking of right now.
Yeah, it's a classic choice into Ice, just because your turn can just fall flat if you can't get go again. So
yeah,
it makes a lot of sense. I tried putting it into Briar, I just couldn't fit it in. I prioritized my 5 matchup and put this rounds on me. So I was like, don't know if that was a mistake, but anyway, yeah.
I like that card.
The last one, I see the 1 Tome of the Arknight, and I see the 1 Read the Runes. So tell me about the 1 Tome of the Arknight. You're just, I don't know, if you're feeling lottery. You just put it in and roll the dice. Or
it's like the opposite. I was on 3 Tome of the Arknight for like 3 months, and I got mad at it.
Yeah.
So two came out. Yeah, that card seems to always whiff for me. And I'm also mad that that card doesn't shuffle after. It may be too good if it does shuffle after.
Yeah.
But the fact that it doesn't can be kind of tilting too.
You just can't chain them. You can't like try one then try the other one after if it fails. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they also it's like it's just like you're revealing knowledge, right? Like essentially, it's like, well, now your opponent knows.
They know what's coming next, and sometimes there's not a lot I can do with what I know what's coming next that turn. It doesn't really benefit me to know what's on top of the deck. I mean, like if I have also like a Gorganian Tome or something in my hand at the same time, I'm starting with
draw
that.
effect.
So the Tome of the Arknight gets me a Rune Chant when I play it next, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just getting flashbacks of Eric being destroyed by Adam at Pro Tour.
No, it was Nats. It wasn't Pro Tour.
Oh, it was Nats. Sorry, it was Nats. Sorry.
I don't think he wants to talk about that one.
No.
Hey man, when you roll triple tome, you roll triple. I'm just mad he didn't top 8 after doing that to me.
It's true.
Even I came back. I came back those next 2 games and I was fine. I bubbled like a man.
Bubbled like a man.
That's fine.
Just because you can't draw 6 cards with 3 resources.
Look, I was on. Let's not discuss that. So what about the read the runes? You got 1 red read the runes.
Yeah, I love that when I am on the play. Because we can draw it and just have better setup potential, or we can become the Arknight and go get it for even more setup potential. Yeah. Sometimes on turn 1 you can go like Mordred, become the Arknight, get read the runes, make a bajillion rune chants, and
the dream
best card.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a good point, because otherwise the deck is tempo oriented, so you're not usually setting this up. So you wouldn't run 3 because your goal is really to just come up with a bunch of damage plus Rosetta at the end. So I can see it being a sideboard option if you're going second. Yeah.
I've also been discussing with a lot of people this week. I choose to play first in every single matchup in this game with this list, which a lot of people and people that are much better than me are completely disagreeing with me. And I gotta figure out the science to figure out if I'm onto something or if I'm just making everything a lot harder for myself than it needs to be.
I was gonna point out that the guy that I played against in ProQuest, he I was on the play. I had a CNC turn 1 as Briar, and I arsenaled it. I was like, yeah, he's gonna arsenal something, and he did not arsenal a card for the entire game until turn 7. And I was just like, what's happening? And I didn't expect it. But is that kind of the playstyle that Viserai aims for? Usually just kind of put everything out there, full gas, gain tempo?
I am looking to kind of start off a snowball, much like Chain. So like ideally for me, I want to take the play. I want to get as much setup as I possibly can and arsenal something. And on turn 2 with their unfiltered hand, most often I'm just not blocking whatever they can send at me. Their hand might be good, might not be good. Maybe I give them like quite a bit of equipment on that turn 2. And then turn 3, I like to come back with that setup, all the rune chants, this big 5-card hand, and start incentivizing them to just block this whole game.
Okay.
Kind of like Chain. Like I just love the feeling of my opponent just only blocking because they feel like they have to, and they just watch me play the game.
That's kind of mean.
Yeah, dude.
You're just playing solitaire.
I've noticed a lot of other Viserais, they know that the longer they stretch out the game, the more like just incidental rune chants they're going to make over the course of the entire game. Right. And they kind of get there by blocking a lot more than I do. And I kind of took that thought and I went, well, what if I still do that? I stretch out the game, but I'm stretching it out by just taking cards from their hand every turn, starting from that turn 3. Like we just do those sequencing, those lines that I was talking about. We force them to block, and I play all of my cards. That's how I'm gonna get the most like damage threatened over 8 turns, or the most rune chants made over 8 turns.
Right.
And that's kind of why I'm picking the play first.
That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, and there are games where the hands curve out and you don't arsenal at all, to answer your question. Like it's just
it must have happened
just play everything. Because you just have so much go again and stuff. You can just keep like swarming, into meet and greet, into consuming. And other times you get to swing the sword and just arsenal your best card at the end of every turn.
Makes sense.
True. Yeah. Okay, let's roll onto the sideboard here. So Erase Face, Oasis, 1 Runic, 2 This Round's on Me, and 3 Sync. So I imagine This Round's on Me is for 5. The Sync belows are for Guardian. The Oasis are for Kano. Like make the 1 Runic and the 2 Erases. Probably kind of what I want to focus on.
I'm just guessing here, but yeah.
Is it Dromai? Are you afraid of Dromai? I'm not sure.
I feel like Dromai is my easiest matchup. I'm not afraid of it. I didn't make sideboard slots for Dromai. It's just kind of like like Prism's downfall last year too. Like lots of my other sideboard cards just come in that matchup because they're just good there too.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Which also just helps. It's like I feel like that's my one unlosable matchup.
Mm.
Okay.
I will say
So
my sideboard does change all the time. The this round's on me, yeah, certainly for Fi, and it's pretty good against Dromite as well. And when I was
Mm.
putting them in my sideboard, I was like, oh man, like all these wizards and ice decks, like I could increase my blue count if I want to. And it just blocks 3 when Icelanders might just be attacking you for
Yeah.
7 every turn.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
The Sink Belows, I have a love-hate relationship with. It is there for Guardians and Brutes, but I don't know. Half the time they just bother me because I've accomplished my goal. I've got them like mostly blocking this whole game. I'm
Yeah.
really snowballing, and then you draw a Sink Below and you just want to be drawing gas, and it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
That's
Especially
true.
with that single Tome of the Arknight revealing a D-React.
Yeah. To be fair, if the Oases are coming in or the Sink Belows are coming in, then the Sonatas and the Tome of the Arknight come out
Come out.
because
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's very
Interesting. Yeah,
frustrating when it
Sonata.
just
Yeah,
reveals that and it doesn't
it's true.
work.
It's very
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. The Runic Reclamation, it's kind of good against Briar when they have a
Channel
Channel
Mount.
Mount Heroic up. Yeah. Sometimes I think like, oh, this might be good against Ice for their different auras, but also it already costs 3 depending on how much they're taxing me. Like it just
Yeah,
feels really bad to pay like 4 or 5 for.
it's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to bring it in against Viserais when they were playing more of like the Runeblood Incantation. Is that the name
Right.
of the aura that makes the rune chant
Yeah.
token every turn?
Mhm.
Like, things like that, but it doesn't seem as good
Yeah.
anymore. So that could go, to be honest.
Mhm. That's
The
fair.
Oasis Respites, I'm very happy with, and I played 2 Kanos and a Iyslander in my ProQuest win, and those Oasis Respites were pretty huge in those
Very
matchups.
good. Yeah.
So yeah, very happy with that. Erase Face though, I swear by that card. This is one of my favorite sideboard cards, and it actually comes in against so much,
Hmm.
like Bolton as well as Fi and Dash, and it can be a popper for Dromite.
Uh,
It's very good against Viserai. It's good against Briar. It can be good against the Ice decks that want to fuse. Can be good against Lexi.
yeah. Dash especially.
Can just come in against Crown of Seeds when Command and Conquer isn't as good.
Mm.
Okay. But if you
Yeah.
like it so much, why is there only 2?
There should probably be 3 at
It's
this
the
point. That Runic
realistic.
Look,
Reclamation should
I'm
be it.
just,
Yeah.
it's just the logical thing.
No,
I don't know.
you are right. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all partially too like recently some people better than me have been telling me like Erase Face doesn't do anything against Fi
Mm.
anymore.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also need to
Okay.
retune how I'm playing the Dash matchup now that
Mm.
the new set has come out. I've not put a lot of practice into it.
Mm.
Last year at France, right after that big Singapore event, I must have fatigued 5 dashes that weekend by bringing in 4 D-Reacts and 3 Oasis Respites and taking all the 2 blocks out of my
Yeah.
deck and just only blocking the whole game.
Yeah. That was the, I guess, the prescription to fighting Dash because people, I guess, were caught off guard a little bit. It was kind of like,
Hmm
oh crap!
Yeah,
Now
a little
there's
bit.
maximum velocity that's in this deck. Like, what do we do? It's like, well, just block and you should be okay. But I
Yeah.
think Dash has changed since then to be more mid range. They can bring in the the package with the inductions, the purifiers. Any thoughts on that kind of matchup or anything that you want to change from this list to address the matchup?
There's a lot that can change from this
Okay.
list. I took a big break at the end of January and all December, or sorry, at the end of November and all
Mm-hmm.
December, and then just the start of January. And this is just my first week coming back into it
Nice. Oh,
really
you came
hard.
back swinging, dang.
Yeah, and that's partly why I picked Viserai as well for that
Just
pro
the
quest. It's
comfort.
just that's what I had reps on at the
Yeah.
end of the year last year. Yeah,
Awesome.
so there's more testing I've got to do, more things I've got to look at again.
Oh, that
Awesome.
makes sense. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your the matchups you played at ProQuest. A little bit about. I mean, they'll kind of devolve. The ones you didn't play, I might ask you about. But let's go into the ones you did play in Swiss and top 8.
Sure.
Starting with the Swiss ones, your 6 Swiss games.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get the order a little bit wrong.
That's so whatever.
Yeah, but I think it was like Lexi. There was an Iyslander, Kano, 2 Briars, and a Bolton. Is that 6? I know total numbers on the day. I played Briar 4 times. I played Iyslander.
Okay.
I played Kano twice, and Lexi and
Okay.
Bolton.
Nice.
So why don't we start with the Wizards?
Yeah.
Because you said Iyslander and Kano.
Mhm.
I imagine they're different, but they're also similar, right? So maybe we start with
hmm
those two.
Yeah, for sure. I played an absolute beauty in round two named Shay from Calgary.
Mm.
Oh
Absolutely
yeah,
love that guy. And
yeah,
I kind of sideboarded and planned it more for like the Michael Hamilton version of Iyslander that I'm used to seeing.
Right.
And he was playing more of like a full
Full spell.
strip your hand auras, like combo off like Frost Hex type of win.
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, and so just putting up the pressure and all the on hits and just going fast as well as having the blues to handle the taxing effects just worked out for me.
Mm-hmm. Did you side in the
Sure.
this rounds on me? I assume that kind of came in just for the blue.
I don't think it did there
Okay.
because I don't know, I just didn't feel in my heart at that moment that
Yeah.
I needed more blues. I would have in hindsight now knowing that his
Knowing that there
entire
were
plan is
more
tax and
spells.
hand
Yeah.
stripping and yeah,
That
and the
makes sense.
frost X win.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But Oasis Respites came in, Erase Face came in. I think they were all pretty good for me.
Okay. What about the Kano?
The Kano, it's pretty much just the Oasis Respites come in, and the Arcane Barrier 3 and
Mm-hmm.
the Findle's Spring Tunic. And I'm kind of looking to just go as fast as I can, put as much pressure on them. Definitely the on hit effects are really important, as well as not overextending too much. And kind of the name of that game for me as well is to get like an Oasis in my arsenal or in my hand, and maybe a counter on Tunic, and then
Mm-hmm.
I can just commit all the rest of my cards to just going for it.
Yeah. No, that's fair because you're really only looking against like Wildfire to like on their side to actually
hmm
do like significant damage to you. Otherwise, they're mainly just chipping, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times too, when they're just doing little chip effects, if they don't have a big on hit effect that I'm scared of, I can just kind of take most of that because it's mostly just a race until you force them to go off, and you need to just not die when they have to go off with
Yep.
lethal on the board.
Yeah. Okay. You said you had a Lexi.
hmm
What's with that one? How did
Erase
you?
face.
Erase Face is good. I think Lexi can be an okay matchup for me as long as they don't get into the play patterns of just having full tempo 6 card hands starting every turn with a Chilling Ice Vein. That can be really
Mm.
frustrating to play against. Um, but I did my thing where I played first. I acted like I was just going to Arsenal, and he activated Voltaire and pitched a card,
You
an
took the
Arsenal
bait.
card. Yeah,
Took the
and then
bait.
Got him.
I just
You did
started
you
attacking from there, and
did you CNC that poor guy?
Oh, that would be
not
the.
not on turn one, but that would be something.
Oh
Okay.
man.
So just double
Yeah.
checking when they like double load an arrow off a blue and they have a card in hand and you CNC and you're just
Like
like
how much
get
did you crush his
destroyed.
soul turn one? Yeah.
There was some crushing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. But overall, it's like a fairly okay matchup, I guess, for Viserai.
Yeah, I really like it.
Hmm.
I had some pretty good locals on Lexi as well last year, so I put like a lot of time into that matchup.
Hmm.
And it seems to be the key is to just make them block and then keep snowballing with those on hit effects.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess like consuming's pretty big here.
Yeah.
CNC is obviously very big
Yeah,
here.
100%.
Okay. Briar was that
You
you
said
faced
four.
that
You
one
said
Swiss
four
also?
Briars, right? So there was some Swiss and then top eight, I assume. Yeah.
Yes, it's actually three, I guess, because I didn't play my finals match.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I played a Briar in Swiss, and then I played her again in top four, and then I had played a Briar who was also 5-0 on the day. I think I played him in the sixth round, and
Mm.
he was in the finals with me, but he didn't have any interest in going to Baltimore. So
Okay.
I was able to take my car ride the 3 hours home early.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
hmm
Yeah.
Okay.
Briar to further answer your question, Briar's a pretty scary matchup. It just feels kind of like a race. Um,
Yep.
but most of the Briars I see don't play Arcane Barrier against me,
Yeah.
and
It's true.
and I'm
Yeah.
I'm more able to get away with not playing Arcane Barrier against them, especially now most lists have taken Revel out, which I agree with. I don't play Revel and Briar either because it just doesn't synergize with anything else the deck is doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's further confidence in not having to play Arcane Barrier against them.
It's true.
Right. So you
Yeah.
just run the regular equipment suite.
Yeah,
No arcane barrier and just
yeah.
go face.
Aether Ironweave is so good in that matchup. Like maybe
Mm.
you block the first snatch with an Ironweave and a card, and then later on you get to pop it in CNC or Erase Face and just take full tempo.
Yeah.
So that matchup is mainly just bringing in Erase Face and Runic, I
Runic,
guess.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
How about Sinks?
Okay.
Um, no, I'm kind of over that.
Mm,
I don't think I'm as good at playing the mid-range two cards hands all game
yeah,
style as some other people I know. I like to just snowball and chain
yeah,
and just ramp it up and make them start blocking.
yeah. Who needs to block anyway? That's how I
Yeah,
like to
right.
play. Just let's go full gas.
Wow. When
Yeah.
they have it on hit, it makes you do stuff. You
You
got to
have
block.
then you have to. But
Yeah.
one thing I like of Viserai over Briar is he seems to block a little bit better.
You have a lot of 3 blocks.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
most of your cards, other than like Mauve, are 3 blocks.
Mhm.
Yeah, Briar relies on the embodiment of Earth to get her 3 blocks off. Sometimes
Mhm.
4 blocks, which is nice, but most of the time it's a 3. Yeah.
And Viserai seems to feel a little bit more redundant to me. Like I have that extra card in hand sometimes that blocks 3, whereas Briar I'm like I need all these cards to do anything, or I'm swinging for 4.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have like one dot attack. You're like, well,
Yep.
I gotta keep this.
Yeah.
The other random stuff. I need
Yeah.
this Earth card for this channel. That's like, yeah, okay, I'm blocked with that. Yeah,
Yep.
that definitely makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you saw in Swiss
Any
specifically?
Guardians? I forget if any were mentioned.
No Guardians, and I
None.
think
Okay.
that was very lucky for me because this list specifically and this sideboard, I think Oldhim is my worst matchup when they are playing full control and they're just blocking the whole game.
Right.
This list, I think, has a hard time going
Yeah.
over the top of that.
He just gets around your 4 attack cards so easily.
Yeah, and just all his Arcane Bear is so efficient, the shield's so efficient,
Yep.
Crown of Seeds is so good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have packages where I could try to set up like a OTK sort of situation and make the matchup a little bit easier that way.
Right.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was good chunk of luck that I didn't run into one that day, but also there isn't too many in Alberta.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. A lot of it is knowing your local metas too. So if anyone's
100%.
wondering, like this, why is the sideboard look that way? It does change based on what kind of heroes you're expecting to see.
Yeah, if I expected 8 killer old hymns there, the sideboard would look very different.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. So
Yeah.
I guess, sinks are really the only thing that are super
That would
obvious to
come in
bring
here.
in Guardians.
Yeah, and I don't even like it against old hymn because sometimes you think they might be aggro or mid-range and they just
They're under
never attack
control.
you the entire
Yeah.
game.
And
And
it
it
makes
feels
more
terrible to put
sense.
one in Arsenal too and have it stuck there the whole game.
Yeah, I would say into Bravo it makes more sense because dominate's more impending, but for old him, there's only a few cards that's gonna get dominate.
Yeah, I much prefer my Bravo matchup, but again, I need to force them to race or to start blocking. And so I don't even like the sync belows there, to be honest. I like to
That's a good point.
just encourage them to race me, and I need synergy from all my cards coming together and rune chance and on-hit effects.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Covered a bunch of matchups. Do you see any Rhinar there? I don't know if you've talked about Rhinar before.
I did not. There was one kind of on the top tables all day, and I don't know what happened to him.
Oh,
That's
He rolled a one. He rolled a one.
had
That's
to
what
go home.
happened.
probably. Yep.
Just, all right, I'm
100%.
done. Stands
Yeah.
up and leaves.
The sync belows would come in there, especially for some of the cards in my deck that block 0, like the G Tome and the Arknight Shard. It's so
Yeah.
tilting to
Right.
have all your cards intimidated except for that
Except
one.
for that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it always
happens.
happens. Too.
Always
It's just
happens.
Like the 25% chance. Yep. There it is. That's the one that doesn't block.
Love
All
that
right.
for me. Yeah.
All right. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Any Dories? I know that's actually quite an interesting matchup, Dori into Vis. It's very like
Swinging.
mid-range hate
Yeah,
against
that one
this, like,
that one
armor.
scares me. Yeah, that's another thing I need to put more time into because I was not around in this game in WTR.
Right. I mean, luckily there aren't that many floating around.
Mhm.
I mean, in my meta or my local meta, I don't think there's any Dories. So I would rarely play into that. I don't know about you, Eric.
There were when I was judging a PQ last week, and there were 3 Dories. One of them top 8, top 4 actually.
Wow.
And then one of them also did pretty decently. I think Dory's like very. I get a little off topic here. I think Dory's like pretty good into a lot of the aggro decks. You can definitely like get some crazy value off glistening and such, and it's like very easy to not block, and then they just block you out and keep swinging with big Dawn Blades and stuff like that. So
It scares me.
Yeah.
Warriors
Yeah.
scare me. There was a Bolton that made me really sweat when we were 5-0.
Ooh.
I did my thing and got him to 1 life when I was still at 38, and then he did
Yeah.
the double Lumina combo off, and I think by the
Ah,
end of it,
yes.
I was at 9 and he was at 11.
Yeah, that's what happens.
pretty
But
spooky,
the good
yeah.
news at that point is that once he's done, he's done.
Yeah,
Right? Like
100%.
that's it. By that point, if he can't finish the game, you win.
Yeah. I really like that matchup just because I think my list is very good against it. Like
Hmm.
I'm looking to go as fast as I can early, but once they start getting to like the 3 or 5 cards in Soul and they're starting to set up and they look like they're about to go for it, things like Command and Conquer or Erase Face or the
Yeah.
Consuming Volitions are really, really strong there at taking cards from them when they need them all.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
Um,
in my pro quest I heard just from the table next to me, triple Lumina. And
Oh
everyone
no.
everyone was like, "What? Triple Lumina?"
Oh no.
I'm
that
sure
must
that
have
guy
been a
got
fun
destroyed.
experience for everyone involved. Yeah, I
It
bet.
was fun.
Yeah.
I have heard that Phi is a real bad matchup for Viserai. I have like talked to some, especially one very good Viserai player, and he was like, "I'm not bringing Viserai because Phi
Mm.
exists." Talk to me about your Phi matchup. Is he crazy, or are you just don't care?
I It scares me, but I think I'm like 50-50 overall in the matchup.
Interesting.
Um yeah, and
Yeah.
someone I look up to, Subasa was actually there in
Yeah.
Calgary.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, he told me.
Yeah, and he brought Fi, and all day I was telling him like, "Oh no, I'm so scared to play against you. Like for sure, I'm gonna see you in like top 4 or something. It's gonna be so stressful." And he was like, "No, man, like Viserai scares me. I don't want to play against Viserai at all."
Interesting.
So, and I've gotten that before too. So I think both sides of that coin are like equally scared to play against each other.
Yeah, because I feel like you're just kind of just throwing shit at each other. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, if I gets Art of War, he probably won.
Yeah.
Or if it's
But
like whoever blinks first is like
this
Yeah.
probably
yeah.
not gonna do
The
well.
deck does run a lot of on hits, right? So I think that Fi is a little afraid to just not block, especially consuming and meet and greets. Of course, you've got a race face, less potent now, but still a threat. So
Still
Yeah,
something for sure. Yeah. Like pretty much everything in my deck can demand cards. And so for that I really like the aggro matchup.
yeah,
Just because even when you start with like a swarming gloom build, they don't know if there's a bunch more coming or a trick coming. They're kind of incentivized to block that, and then
yeah,
they're incentivized to block meet and greet or stop arcane so it doesn't have go again. And then
hmm,
you do more and they're incentivized to block that too.
yep,
And I think they're playing more blues now than they used to be, but I think they
yeah, for
still kind of
Iyslander and stuff.
struggle with a lot of arcane.
Yeah,
yeah. That's a good
So
that's
point.
fair.
Yeah,
yeah.
They probably don't even run Arcane Barrier into you. I can't imagine that they can afford to not run like snaps for like big combo turns and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
the last couple have, but like I think it just goes better for me when they're also pitching to
yeah,
Arcane
Yeah,
Barrier and
I wouldn't want
blocking.
to. I would not want to be on like the defensive and actually having to like I would bring Arcane One into like literally Iyslander.
Yeah,
Like that's like the main thing I would bring it into, so you can like pitch a blue, block one, and then use two
yeah,
for Ice Fan or something like that. But into like aggro matchups, I feel like you just need to like you need to get them early before they
mm,
set up a bunch of, especially for Arcane. Like if you give Viserai a turn to like Mordred Reed set up like 6 plus rune chance and you just get 6 free. What are you gonna pitch 2 blues? Probably like no. So you're just
nope,
gonna have to come back with like Artivores and that's like 3 cards out of your deck. Otherwise you're doing fair damage, which is not really what you want to be doing in that
yeah,
matchup. So
yeah. The times I've lost it has felt kind of like a high roll. It's normally like some sort of like double Art of War completely go off.
mm,
There's no good way I can block, and then it's like Mask of the Pouncing Lynx get some sort of, you know,
yeah. Like
Salt the
yeah,
Wound for
assault.
10 or
Yeah,
something. It's like, oh, okay.
yeah,
So I don't know how
that's
often that
fair.
happens, but the other times where I've get them blocking, it seems to go well for me.
Yeah, I guess if you could, yeah, that's the key. If you get like the consuming off, CNC off, you get a couple turns of help. They just have like they have a higher amount of armor than anyone expects with what kind of damage they can do.
hmm,
Kinda, but also kinda not. Like if they start like Mask of the Pouncing Lynx and
yeah,
Findle's Spring Tunic and like Snapdragon Scalers or something, like none of that blocks, and the gloves block as soon as
Yeah,
it dies. Sorry, as soon as they block with
yeah,
it, and a lot of their cards are 2 blocks, which I love for all
yeah,
these on hits.
yeah,
yeah, they don't block. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. So
yeah,
trying to think if there's any other like matchups that I'd be particularly interested.
yeah.
We talked about. I mean, Dromai we kind of discussed already. You didn't see any, but it's not super
Not an
important
issue.
here.
Yeah,
No, I like that matchup.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. What kind of am I missing a hero? I mean, I guess I'm missing Katsu. I
I
don't know if you
guess
saw Katsu, but
Katsu or Dash is more relevant. We talked about Dash a
I
little
guess
bit
technically,
already,
yeah.
but yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, Katsu. I don't think I'm scared of the. Mask of Momentum can be pretty annoying when I'm trying to not block, but I get a
Mhm.
couple of free equipment blocks and stuff, so
Yeah.
just got to make them start blocking first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
that makes sense. Was there anything that you saw like overperform on the day, or like any cards that were like other than Oasis, which was I think kind of specific to your meta in general,
Mhm.
but maybe something out of your core deck that's just like you can focus on that being like a high performer on the day?
Um, yeah, like Mordred Tide's obviously always a high performer. Consuming Volition just always in these aggro or mid-range matchups. Sonatas were good to me that day.
Yeah. It's a lot of
Rattlebones
always
seemed
so.
to show up. Yeah, Rattlebones seemed to show up after I drew a Swarming, so that was good to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did had the one of Tome of the Arknight actually hit once, which is always
That's
just sweet.
MVP right there. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a
Um,
game because of reshuffles where I pitched Arknight Shard like 3 or 4 times.
Oh
That
my
was
gosh.
sweet.
That's a lot of
wow, that's
mileage
a
into
lot.
that card. Yeah.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
damage for
Bang
a
for your
blue
buck.
pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
Were there
fair.
any cards that underperformed on the same kind of vein? Like cards that you might consider not running into every matchup anymore?
Sounds like you
Yeah.
despise sync. Like you sounds like you
Yeah,
really
Sinks,
hate
yeah.
sync.
I'm just
Like
over
honest.
D reacts.
Just
Yeah.
overblocking.
Yeah, we're over them. Get them out
Yeah.
of here. Yeah,
Yeah.
Rune Flashes and the Amplify the Arknight are just
Right.
such a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
This Tome of the Arknight, I just hate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do
Awesome.
you have any shout outs you want to give to maybe testing partners or stores or I don't know, the Oilers or something? I don't
The
know.
Oilers.
Always the Oilers. Absolutely
Okay, fair
always the
enough.
Oilers. I would like to just say that I just love the whole Alberta Fab community so much. Just everyone in it is such a
Yeah.
gem, and it's just awesome wherever I go, whether it's Edmonton or Calgary.
That's awesome. Yeah, you
No,
guys
that's
seem very tight
Yeah.
knit from an outsider looking in. I mean, I
Yeah,
consider
no,
myself part of the
great.
family, but you know,
You're in, bro.
I'm in.
Both of you are just in. You guys
no,
are
they're
honorary
chill.
Albertans.
I saw them at Worlds. I hung out with you guys
Yeah.
for a bit. Well, oh, I think Lance got a bunch graded too. That was pretty
That was
crazy.
fun to
You like
watch.
opening
Yeah,
the
yeah.
grading? Yeah, that was
Right.
really fun to
Oh
watch.
man. Yeah.
Anyways, lastly, what was your gold foil? Tell everyone what you got. Tell Rob. Rob needs to
Yes.
know what your gold foil was.
Has anyone just not told you guys?
I
I mean,
haven't
I
found
know
out.
what it is, but Rob doesn't know what it is.
It is a Metacarpus nodes.
Oh, I think
Mhm.
that's the best one.
It's
Oh,
probably pretty
Pro-
close.
It was that one
what?
or the Crater Fist, which I've seen
Crater
floating
Fist,
around.
yeah.
Crater
So
Fist is pretty good.
Crater
Yeah,
Fist is
I was
maybe top 1, but Metacarpus has to be number 2.
it's gotta be. I was
Yeah.
hoping for Rosetta Thorn, but this is just better.
You can get 2
I
Rosetta
mean,
Thorns for that.
There
it's
you go.
stellar to get a Rosetta Thorn. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
I can
no,
send
that,
you guys a little video of Alex opening it and everyone just yelling.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's
that's
Yeah.
exciting. Oh my gosh. I
Yeah.
love being there in person when these
Congratulations.
get opened. It's so fun.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
But big congrats. Yeah, that's a really good pull.
Thank
a
you.
very
Yeah.
good one to open. With that, appreciate you coming on talking about how Viserai is not dead yet. He's still chilling in the right environment with the right cards on the day here. You can make him work. Maybe you too, the lovely viewer would like to play something a little bit different than like regular Briar slap each
Hold
other
him.
aggro. Maybe you want to slap people with rune chants instead. I don't know. Maybe you're just feeling purple. It really doesn't matter. But Andrew, appreciate your time coming on the channel, talking about your deck here. And with that, if you like this kind of content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And from wherever you're watching in the world, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Bye for now.